Good afternoon. Welcome back to the West Ham Network. This is your Hammers Headlines, of course, in association with our good friends over at Knees Up, Mother Brown. Go and check them out, kumb.com. Fantastic content as per usual. Hope you enjoyed our show earlier on, all on the players potentially linked to West Ham and the update on Harvey Barnes. So go and check it out if you haven't already. Go and check out all our content over the past couple of days, discussing Robin Koch of Leeds potentially coming in the door. You name it, loads of stuff coming your way. And as we always say, it's relentless as a West Ham fan, especially as it comes to the transfer market, because there's story after story about players coming and going. And then one of the other biggest sagas in the West Ham current transfer saga is about this man here, Gianluca Scamacca, because talks are still ongoing and could intensify today over Scamacca leaving to go to Roma. Now, I would, for one, and I'm not going to go on too long about the Scamacca situation, but for me, I'd be really disappointed to see him go because I genuinely think he still has a bright future at West Ham, but it seems to be that maybe West Ham are open to recouping as much as the money they paid for him as they possibly can, as maybe they look at a new direction of striker going forward, because there's no doubting about it. You know, bringing in a Scamacca type player who is solidly, he's big, he's a big guy, big target man up top, but he can play, he tracks back, he's like Sebastian Haller, but maybe a little bit more agile. And maybe that style of striker doesn't work, which probably brings me perfectly into this story here now about Jonathan David. I was going to say new players linked to West Ham, and the new replacements coming in at West Ham, but it's not really new links. Jonathan David has been linked to West Ham before, but we apparently are potentially looking at bringing in the Lille and Canadian striker to the club this summer. Now, apparently he's been long touted, interested transfer speculation, and Moyes has a keen interest in the Canadian international. Now, he is 23 years old, and the club are looking for around £51 million. Now, he netted 26 goals in all competitions last season, with 24 coming in Ligue 1 and the other 2 coming in the Coupe de France. Now, Lille are expected to try and look at selling David this summer, and they're looking for around £51 million. And he apparently would love a move to the Premier League. But it's not just West Ham that are interested in Jonathan David. PSG and Napoli are tracking the Canadian international. Now, he has had a rapid rise in recent years, with the youngster now one of the hottest properties in Europe. And given their pulling power in France, PSG will no doubt fancy their chances of luring him to the club this summer. I'm going to sneeze, so apologies for that. While the Serie A champions Napoli will also have high hopes to bring him in. Hay fever season. But if David does indeed favour a move to England, then West Ham will be up there and pushing themselves forward to try and bring him in. But the problem is, will they be willing to spend that amount of money on a single player? But he is an extremely different type of striker, maybe a different future, a different way forward for West Ham, as we potentially look to bring in Jonathan David to the club. You let me know your thoughts on the link of Jonathan David to West Ham as we talk to you again about this man here, and that is our Mando Broja. Now, West Ham, apparently, according to some sources, are really keen to look at bringing him into the club. He has been long-tipped player, a very big admirer, David Moyes is, of Armando Broja. An Italian journalist, Marzio, reported on the 9th of June that Roma had made contact with West Ham to sign Gianluca Scamacca, and West Ham then are now looking at trying to bring Armando Broja in as one of the replacements. We know what he is capable of doing, but he has and could be a risk because he did pick up a really bad injury since he went back to Chelsea after being at Southampton for a successful loan period. Now, the Albanian has really good qualities and potential, but the same could be said of Scamacca when he completed his move last summer. But it seems potentially that we could be looking at this player because he's got Premier League experience, and we're hearing that Moyes is going to be looking at players from the Premier League who've got Premier League experience to bring him into the club. And with Chelsea's desperate need to raise funds to comply with all their regulations, Broja certainly looks likely that he will leave the club this summer. But we do need to watch a player like him, especially with the bad injury that he's got. But he is one for the future. He is in a good age range, and he also adds that different dynamic forward attacking role. So, are we looking at bringing in replacements for Scamacca? Is Scamacca off ski? Then we will have to wait and see. That is the end of your short, sharp, sweet Hammers headlines. Hope you have enjoyed it. We'll come back to you on due course with more content, so don't you worry about that. If you are new around here, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, and of course, come on, you irons.